Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is Opposition Outcome. I'm Gatesy, obviously. Apologies. Normally it would be Duke, but unfortunately he is stuck in rather a long queue of traffic. So I've stepped into the breach. And just to compound things and make it even more of a stressful time, StreamYard is down. So we're having to use Zoom. I haven't used it for a little while, to be honest, as far as doing this is concerned, but it is what it is. We've got Charley Bonner back from Bees TV. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me back.
No, it's our absolute pleasure. Although I was hoping that we'd get you back under circumstances where we might have at least been sort of like on parity with you guys or getting the 3 points, I've got to say. But credit to you guys. I've got to say, I was there yesterday. I assume that you were there as well. And I got to say, I was certainly the first half. I was quite impressed. I mean, 11 minutes in, we could have been 3-0 down.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the game. I had to watch it on one of those, stream sites. So that was great for me. But I mean, bloody 3 p.m. kickoff bans. What can you do? But yeah, no. First 10 minutes, we looked like a really good team. We looked like we were constantly attacking and on the front foot, and winning the second balls a lot. And we did create a lot of chances. First 2 minutes, Brian Mbeumo hits the bar, which we play with that kind of quality left foot. Really, he should be putting that in top corner with his ability, but he gets unlucky. We win a couple corners, and we looked like a really good team the first 15, and then it kind of became, when we scored at that 20th minute mark, we were like, okay, we've set up and we want to see how West Ham play now. And we kind of just sat back and defended for about 60 minutes, which was really interesting to see, because we had a really good dominance and play style in the first half, and we changed it up. So yeah. I was just wondering if something was maybe said at half time to the players, because second half, it didn't really look like us.
Given obviously the previous game against Liverpool, where you looked so impressive as an offensive force, were you kind of surprised that, as you say, once you got the 1-0 goal, that there was this sort of like almost you retreated into your shell a little bit by comparison? Was that a surprise to you?
Yeah, a little bit. We would like to have a little bit more freedom in the players, but obviously we've got an injury today in one of our players called Charley Bonner, which is a very good quality player. We bought him from Oxford for about 500k, and he's been best transition midfielder since Joshua Silva's been injured. So we've got a lot of good players that just are injured now, that we can't play them. But I feel like first 15, Shandon wasn't injured. We looked good. When Shandon had to come off, we looked poor, and it's because our number 8, Matthias Jensen's just come back from Denmark from the Euros with a leg injury, so he's not 100% fit. So it means he's not at his best ability, which makes us in the midfield lose a player, because it feels like we're playing with 4 men or 3 men against 2 really good pivots, and for now Ben Rama as well can overplay them, and we just ended up looking a bit crap, to be honest with you, in the second half. And that's football, really.
Were you surprised that we started so sluggishly in that first sort of 20-minute spell? Was that a shock to you, or were you sort of like, do you think that was more to do with you guys playing so well rather than us playing poorly? Where do you think the balance was?
I think there is definitely a balance to it in the way that you guys start playing. I think first half, you kind of do have to say from a West Ham's perspective that, we are a newly promoted team. We shouldn't be controlling the ball that well against team with one-touch football play like that. I mean, the one-touch football around the West Ham players in the first 15 was brilliant. I mean, we start going around, we start attacking on the left, right. Rico wins a corner. We start winning set pieces. We're a very good set piece team, I've noticed this season, which we weren't in the Championship. So it's very different to what we normally see and what we are trying to win, because in that second half, we were very dark arts-ish. We definitely played for a lot of challenges, and I wasn't too happy about it myself sitting at home. I was like, that defender is being a bit annoying to some some certain people on the pitch, and I don't like it myself. But you know, if the
You
if
can
the players are told
understand
to
it
do
though,
that,
can't you, Charlie?
yeah,
It's one of those.
You understand that it's very frustrating for all fans and the neutrals as well, because at the end of the day, I want to see good football. West Ham fans want to see good football. First half, sluggish performance from West Ham. You got to say, Kufal didn't really have a good first half, but he had a better second half.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he started getting a bit of a run. Same with one of the other, I think it was Bonner with Brian Mbeumo.
Yeah.
Brian Mbeumo was running off him a little bit too much, really fast as second striker. It's very hard to deal with when you've got that two men up top, which a lot of teams don't play in this division, if you believe it or not. So it's very strange for defenders to have to deal with that. So I feel like from a West Ham's point of view, that the first half for you wasn't great at all, really. And I feel like second half, you completely dominated us and you deserve to at least get a draw or even win with the amount of chances you created, but there was just no clinical finish in the end.
From your point of view, and given that you say yourself that the second half was quite a dominant performance from West Ham, were you quite surprised that at the end of 90 minutes, once the final whistle had blown, David Moyes had made not one single substitution?
Yeah, no, I was watching the game and it was a bit, I don't want to say embarrassing or hysterical, but it was a bit laughable. I mean, I don't really know. Souček, in my opinion, didn't have the best game. And you know how good of a player Souček is on his days. So it just looked tired. I mean, you should have probably brought on, I can't remember his name, but I think it's Krau or something. Yeah. I mean, he sounds like the kind of replacement type guy for him I was looking into. And I'm not really sure why he didn't make any subs at all, really. Yeah. Is it like, I was watching you last season, just before the end of the season, you had Jesse Lingard and then you made the changes with Ben Rahman, Fornals and Lanzini sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the easy subs, but you didn't have any depth, it seemed, in the positions that you wanted to change. And maybe David Moyes thought that team he selected was the best team to go and win the game, which every manager must feel that their team is good enough to win and get 3 points. But just felt like some of your best players didn't perform to the standard that they usually do. And sometimes that happens.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, as a West Ham fan, I don't want to harp on about our players playing below there because it could possibly come across that I'm maybe not giving Brentford due credit. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if I sit here and say, well, this player didn't play well for us and that player, you know, it can kind of sound like a little bit of like, oh yeah, you're just trying to sort of make excuses because your team lost and all the rest of it. And from my point of view, Brentford got the 3 points, and from where I was sitting, and I've heard conflicting, you know, people from our side of the fence, sort of like some people have sort of like watched the game and seen a different game to me, it seems, and think that we should have won. I got to be honest, and like I say, I come back to we could have quite easily been 4-0 down in that first half and the game's gone. So I got to be honest and say that fair play, Brentford, from where I was sitting, I think did a number on us. But yeah, I just, yeah, it's quite frustrating because sort of like, you know, we've got a number of players that didn't perform anywhere near their potential. It wasn't even close. Whereas you guys, you came out and like I say, the first 20 minutes, I thought you set your stall out, you went at us, you got the goal. As you say, fair enough. From that point on, you did kind of retreat a little bit, and there was, as you referred to it yourself, as the dark arts. And for my money, I think that yes, it's as a neutral, it's quite frustrating to see sort of like, you know, the cynical side of football coming out. Obviously from my side, it was quite frustrating because obviously we're chasing the game. But from your guys' point of view, I can absolutely see that, listen, you're a newly promoted team, you're away from home against a team that's qualified for Europe. So if you're 1-0 up, you're going to try and it's the referee's job to step in. And if the referee doesn't sort of like start dishing out yellow cards and all that, then that's on him. But for my money, I sort of like sit there and say, listen, congratulations, Brentford. It was a kick in the teeth from a West Ham point of view, but you know, we had the other side of that particular coin against Leeds at Elland Road, where we've scored in the 90th minute to win the game. this time it's not come around. And so, it is what it is. But from your side of the things, which player from Brentford do you think stood out, and which player from West Ham do you think was the star performer?
There are a lot of star performers today. Like not today. I mean, a couple of days ago when the match we had the man of the match polls and stuff like that. David Raya today was pretty good goalkeeper, made some good saves, made some good defensive organisation. Rico Henry, the defender, number 3, played quite decently well. Did get caught out a little bit by Coufal sometimes, but at the end of the day, had some good blockage, had some good stops of the ball going past the net, and played well. Ethan Pinnock played well, and Ivan Toney and Brian Mbeumo were probably the best players on the pitch today. And Ivan Toney didn't even, he didn't win as many aerial headers as he usually does, and he didn't win as many battles. But he's come back, tracked back, and he got in front of. There was that bit where he got in front of Coufal again, and he came in front, put his body in front of him like Harry Kane does, and just won a foul out of nothing, really. So very intelligent player, and I think that's probably why he's there for us, because even when we're defending corners, he's in the 6-yard box, headering out. He headed out 2 clearances from the 6-yard box, stopping West Ham's attacks. So in my eyes, it was Toney and Mbeumo and Rico Henry, which are our best players today, because we were just lethal and we were just lobbing balls in from wing-back positions the whole entire game, really.
Yeah. I thought Mbeumo, for me, I thought he was your standout performer. I thought he was a handful all afternoon. Obviously, he got the opener. He could have scored, beforehand with the header that just went wide in after about, I think it was about 6 minutes in or something like that. And that followed on from the shot that hit I think that was Mbeumo as well, wasn't it? That clipped the bar after about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So he could have had a hat trick yesterday, to be perfectly honest with you. Ivan Toney, was probably the one that a lot of people thought would be the one sort of like the headline maker. But for me, Mbeumo was your star player by a country mile. Again, so from the West Ham point of view, was there any players in claret and blue stood out, or was there? Did you sort of look and think they're all pretty much of a muchness?
Today, I thought one player that stood out. Cresswell's crossing ability is bloody dangerous in this division. It gave me a heart attack every time he got the ball in that little wing-back position and was able to whip it in, because I'm not confident in Zananka's defending that much as he's a brand new player and I haven't seen him play at all, really. So I was a bit worried about not having Christopher Ayer there. And, there's that. But I also think Declan Rice, maybe it wasn't one of his best games, but he's still a very solid player. And I still thought he played well, had to do what he had to do in that game. And I still thought he controlled most of the ball when the tempo in the second half. And that's why we were under the cosh a little bit. There's still a little bit of, on the Souček front, maybe that player didn't really play to his performance. And I feel like if, second half, he was playing a little bit deeper and he was winning a bit of the ball a bit more, he came a little bit back into it, but still wasn't at his best ability that I've seen of Souček before. And I just thought on set plays, he was weak. And I just thought that when he got the ball, he didn't want to shoot. He didn't want to dribble in further and try and put the ball in the front. He just kind of went side to side a little bit more. And you don't need that from 2 CDMs. So,
do you think that Thomas Frank won the battle of the minds between the managers? The tactical battle.
That's a very hard question to put out, because as I said in the pre-match, he's a very tactical manager. He's probably one of the top 15 managers in the UK right now, based on tactics entirely. And that's his whole premise. All he talks about is tactics and how we can improve on the game and what our strengths were and what the weaknesses were. I mean, he goes into post-match interviews after the game and literally says what our weaknesses were on national television, which I don't like. I mean, don't want teams to find out how bad we are, but he says it and we improve upon it. And whether David Moyes with the subs thing is a problem, I think it was because you didn't bring anyone on, and we ended up bringing on an 18-year-old in that game. We brought on an academy lad called Mads Bistrup, and to bring off Franco Nenka, who didn't really have a great game, but still played well, decently in some parts, but we brought on a young teenager. We're not a very big squad, but we have enough depth and confidence in our players on the bench that they can make an impact. And without Johan Wisser and Mads Bistrup linking up on that last foul, that goal doesn't exist, the last minute winner. So
I think you've got Chelsea next up, haven't you, Charlie? What are your expectations for that match?
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea. I think I'm really hoping for a draw out of anything. I just don't want to get battered by Chelsea. No, it's at Brentford, and okay. We've conceded the most goals at home this season, so it's not great. And when they have players like Kovacic and Lukaku, and players like that are really good build-up players, and Jorginho and stuff as well, it just makes me think: are we going to have enough to stop Chelsea? And there will definitely be goals in it, 100%. So it'll be a really good game, but it's just about getting the point at least on the board minimum. And if we don't, that's unlucky. It's one of the better sides in the division, obviously. And we'll have to move on. We've had a pretty good run. Only lost 1 game out of 7, so it's not been that bad for us. But minimum, if we can get 13 points from 7 games, I'm happy.
So you're 7th in the Premier League table right now. Obviously, yes, you've got the Chelsea game next, which obviously they're European champions. I think it's fair to say that they go into that one as favourites. But obviously, looking a little bit further ahead, where do you see yourselves after game 38 of the Premier League is done?
Where do I see ourselves after 38?
I know it's all hypothetical and there's lots of things that could go wrong. I appreciate that. It's a little bit of a sort of like, putting you on the spot. But, what would you say would be a reason if you had to sort of like say positionally within a, up or down sort of like 3 or 4 places, where do you think realistically you're aiming for?
Or realistically we're aiming for, I think it's a mid-table finish, maybe 10th or 11th really is what the minimum goal requirement I think would be. But I was looking at stats last night and I was checking when Wolves came up in the Premier League in that 18-19 season, and they, their first 4 or 5 games, they got like 12 points or something, and they got into Europe that season. They did. And, we have a better record than that in our first something games. So there is a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, okay, but there is a possibility we could make a European competition. It could happen. Anything's possible in football. I mean, we saw Leicester win the Premier League. I mean, that was amazing. So anything can happen. But realistically, mid-table finish minimum, and if anything worse than that, 17th survival.
Yeah, well, I to be honest with you, Charlie, and I'm not saying, I'm not saying it because you're here. I'm not trying to sort of blow smoke up your ass or anything. I honestly think that Brentford are going to stay up. I think, like I say, I mean, sort of like I'm always of the opinion that any team that comes up, especially because you obviously came up through the playoff route, and I always think that when you've come up through the playoffs, although it's a very exciting way to go up, you've got that day at Wembley and all the rest of it, but you're kind of you sort of like you're the last one to the party, if you will, to the Premier League party, and you're never quite sure whether you're planning for another season in the Championship or for a season in the Premier League. So it's a little bit difficult for you. So I think that in that first season, it's all about consolidation. So I think if you got 17th, I think that would have to be termed as success, in my opinion. But having said that, I do think that you're, especially on the basis of what I saw yesterday, I think you're capable of quite a bit more. So if you finished mid-table, my goodness, that would be absolutely magnificent for your first season in, since what, 1947 in the top flight?
Oh yeah, 100%. It'd be fantastic, and I'd be over the moon with a mid-table finish, in my opinion. Anywhere between 10th or 13th, I'd take happily.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even care about a European spot. We're still in the Premier League fighting, so.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you that have watched this, as I say, Charlie is from Bees TV. Any of you guys that are watching, I know this is a West Ham fan YouTube channel, but we like to try and sort of get everybody looking at different channels and sort of seeing things from a different perspective. So if anybody of you guys watching that wants to see what it's all about, Bees TV on YouTube, drop in, give them a subscribe. just sort of like watch their content, and you can see much more of Charley. As you can see, he's a very articulate young man, very thoughtful, and knows his football. So thank you very much indeed for your participation again, as usual, Charley. And again, if there's anything that we can help with your channel going forwards, we'd be very happy to do so.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And for those of you watching that are West Ham fans back in the room, I'm going to say, come on, you Irons. Don't forget to drop a like on the stream and make sure you subscribe to Fulshire Iron as well. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.